Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our third and final formal session of the day. This session is titled Maverick Mentality of Category Management, and it will focus on innovation and efficiencies. And of course, who better to lead this session than DHS's own innovation superstar, Ms. Polly Hall. Just a little bit of background on Polly. Polly serves as the department's Procurement Innovation Lab Executive Director. The PIL is a virtual lab that empowers those involved in the procurement process to take manage, inform risk, to continually improve the DHS procurement process. And as you know, the PIL is a sister organization to the Strategic Solutions Office. Polly has been with DHS since 2010, first serving as a contract specialist with CDP and the Domestic Nuclear Detection Office, and then as a contracting officer supporting digital services acquisition at Transportation Security Administration. So she has a very robust knowledge of, procurement across a huge spectrum of DHS. So with that, I am going to turn the session over to Ms. Polly Hall and our team of talented panelists. Polly, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ricardo. And if I could invite my panelists to join me on the screen. Ricardo, first of all, thank you for the overly kind introduction. And for all of those attending with us this afternoon, thank you for taking time to be with us. I recognize we're all just coming back from lunch, so that's always a hard one. I'd love to see in the chat some of the great things you guys chose to have for lunch to keep you energized and fueled for a wonderful afternoon ahead with the rest of category management day. As you might have heard throughout the morning, category management provides DHS with an opportunity to effectively structure contracts and leverage efficiencies in our procurement process to more effectively deliver missions. There is obviously strong alignment between the work of our Strategic Solutions Office and the Procurement Innovation Lab. Our combined efforts are intended to provide you, the DHS acquisition community, with a framework that supports the infusion of your new ideas and creativity and allows you to lead from where you are in order to identify and test different approaches of how we can conduct our procurement to most effectively meet the various important missions across our department. Actually applying new approaches to how we conduct procurement is not easy. It takes individuals who step up and who are willing to lead teams in new directions. And in this session, I have the privilege of moderating a panel of 3 Maverick women from the DHS acquisition community who are going to be sharing stories of how they utilized opportunities presented through category management and how they applied their innovation and creativity to award a new strategic sourcing vehicle for our department, how they did this to leverage an existing strategic sourcing vehicle to structure a brand new program for TSA, and how they serve as future-focused category managers supporting new efficiencies for our acquisition community. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my panelists and get us underway. Tasha, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tasha Wong, and I'm a contracting officer for ICE.
Thanks. How about you, Deanna?
Hi, everyone. My name is Deanna Smith, and I am the TSA Purchase Card Program Manager.
Excellent. And Sam, last but definitely not least.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sam Mel, and I am the IT Hardware Category Manager in the Strategic Solutions Office.
Excellent. So there's your panelists. We're going to get right underway, folks, and what I want to ask for you to do before we get started is just to be engaged with us throughout. We are moderating the chat box, the Q&A box, and really do welcome your questions for these wonderful acquisition professionals throughout our conversation today. So we're going to start off with you, Tasha. You were the lead contracting officer and served as the executive agent to award our new strategic sourcing vehicle, the credit reporting BPA. Can you tell us a little bit about this BPA and how it supports both ICE and the rest of the department?
Yes, Polly. The credit report BPA is for use by all the DHS components. And what it does is the credit report BPA, the government awarded a contract to a vendor
And that vendor's job is to take your credit reports from Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion and merge those credit reports into one report, which is called a tri-merge credit report. So what that does is with that tri-merge credit report, that one credit report, when the background investigator is doing your investigation or they're doing my investigation or the contractor's investigation or reinvestigation, instead of having 3 separate credit reports, they have one combined tri-merge credit report. And DHS purchases between 150,000 and 200,000 tri-merge credit reports a year. So the credit report BPA is a vehicle that was put in place so that all DHS components could purchase credit reports in a more efficient manner.
It makes sense. They're all the same, so it's a very good strategic requirement. Tell me what some of the goals were for this strategic solution.
I want to start by saying that 5 years ago when I did the original strategically sourced vehicle for credit reports, I was not the contracting officer, and I had only been working on this requirement for less than a year when it became time to recompete. So I would say that my first goal was to not be the contracting officer on the recompete. And I say that frankly, just to be honest. I think my supervisor would say, I've actually heard him say that I tried to get out of it, but I didn't see it that way. I saw it as I was allowing another contracting officer the opportunity to do a strategically sourced vehicle because some CEOs want to do that. I just, from my perspective, from Tasha Wayne's perspective, I love service contracts. Service contracts are complicated enough. So to do a service contract for all of DHS, I thought it was just going to be really daunting.
Fair enough. I love the fact that you were, at the end of the day, willing to step outside your comfort zone and take this on for all of us. And you reached out to the Procurement Innovation Lab for some support on this procurement as you stepped into the role of executive agent. Talk a little bit about your engagement with the PIL and some of the innovations you and your team devised for this procurement.
Yes, as you stated, I did reach out to the PIL because we were awarding a strategically sourced vehicle for all of DHS. I had a couple of worries. My main worry is that the contract wouldn't be awarded on time, that there was going to be a protest, or that there wasn't going to be enough competition. So I reached out to the PIL, and my reason for reaching out to the PIL was because I was hoping that the PIL could help me find a very efficient and effective way to do my solicitation to ensure that I awarded on time. And I hoped that the PIL, if there was a protest can't be avoided, but if there was a protest, because I was attempting to be innovative, I knew that the PIL would support me, not defend me, but I knew they would be by my side if in the event there was a protest. So that's why I reached out to the PIL.
Mm-hmm. If I recall, one of the things that you were working toward in this procurement as well was an objective of increasing competition to make sure that you had ample vendors bidding on the requirement once you went live with the solicitation. Do you mind sharing with the community here with us today a little bit about how you went about strategizing your procurement to meet that objective of increased competition?
Yes, I would. The contract that ICE awarded 5 years ago, they received one quote from one vendor. So one of my objectives for the recompete was to ensure that we had, as you stated, competition. I wanted to make sure that we had competition as a contracting officer, because with competition we get better prices and there's more options. So with the PIL, what I ended up doing for the first time actually was more of an interactive approach to obtaining competition. So I did an RFI, which I typically do. But for this particular contract, we actually had one-on-ones on Microsoft Teams with the 6 vendors that responded to the RFI. We actually worked with GSA to make sure the vendors got their schedules updated to include all the cleanse that we needed for the BPA. So for this requirement, we took a more interactive approach to market research that I hadn't experienced before.
That I think is really telling. When you set an objective of increasing competition, the proactive approaches you devised and executed to engage with those vendors and to support them so that they were in a position to bid, so that you did have that, pretty impressive. And for those who have been with us on the journey here in Category Management Day, you probably heard a focus on the supplier engagement and the importance of supplier engagement. So I definitely want to just call that out again of how this is supplier engagement in practice, what Tasha was able to execute for this requirement. Did it work? Did you have more competition for this requirement?
Yes, we did. We actually worked with the 6 vendors to make sure their schedules were updated. And at the end of the day, we received 4 quotes. So 4 of the 6 vendors did submit quotes. So that is 4 times the amount of competition that we had last time. So I would consider it a great success over what we experienced just 5 years ago.
That's excellent. So at the end of the day, were you happy with the outcomes of the procurement?
Yes, I was extremely happy. And I wanted to mention that on my first meeting with the PIL, I'll go ahead and say my first meeting with the PIL, my brainstorming session that we have with our PIL coach, who is Scott, I had already pretty much completed my RFQ, and I thought it was perfect. I thought it was beautiful. But after that brainstorming session with Scott, I completely started over because looking back, I realized my original RFQ was overly complicated. And I wanted to mention one thing specifically, since you're on the subject of competition. One of the things I envisioned doing, because we were purchasing a portal, is I wanted to do a vendor demonstration where the vendor would create a temporary portal for DHS, and we could actually view the processing of these reports and public records checks, et cetera. And my PIL coach at the time mentioned to me that when we asked a vendor to do something like that, it ends up costing the vendor up to $10,000. So what my PIL coach recommended was, instead of doing something like that, just have the vendors submit samples of the products we were requesting. So instead, we asked for a sample tri-merge credit report. We asked for a sample Canadian credit report. We asked for a sample public records check and Social Security verification. And by doing that, it didn't eliminate any competition because the price of just submitting the proposal was going to be too high. So the PIL did help me come up with ways such as that. I thought that was a really good example of how I didn't decrease competition by making it so expensive to submit a proposal.
And if I recall, was this a small business set aside? Or was it
No, it was not a small business site. And actually, we were actually thinking to do a small business set aside when we originally started, because if you looked at GSA's schedule, it looked like there were sufficient businesses that were small. But talking to the vendors and having one-on-ones, we found out that several were about to update their GSA schedule to large businesses. So actually talking to my point of the story being that actually talking to the vendors, we found out that it would have been an error to set it aside for small business because they were about to graduate on their schedule to large business, and we wouldn't have had the 2 small businesses that we thought we would have had. So we ended up doing it full and open.
That's a really, I think, important key there, is if you would have gone just by what you saw publicly available information, you would have made different decisions. But engaging with the vendors helped you develop an approach that was more effective and realistic. We had a question from the audience. What was the estimated dollar value for this requirement? Do you recall?
Yes, I know exactly what it was. It was $24 million. That was estimated for this requirement, for this BPA.
And it's approximately a year post-award. We're coming into August. I feel like the summer is going to go fast, so we'll leave it at that. Do you remain satisfied with the outcome?
Yes, I am very satisfied with the outcome. I'm actually glad. I mentioned that I was not on board with actually doing a strategically sourced vehicle because I found it to be a bit intimidating. But looking back, I'm so glad that I did it. What I didn't realize is that when you're doing a strategically sourced vehicle, you have so many people that are out there trying to help you. Your strategic solutions office person, your PIL coach, your supervisor, everybody wants you to succeed. So I'm very happy that I did it, and I would recommend anyone volunteer instead of being volunteered.
That's really excellent. And, we know that a lot of these approaches you tried for the first time out of your brainstorming with the PIL and your support from the PIL. Do you anticipate that you'll use any of the strategies, the innovations you applied for this BPA on future contracts that you support?
Yes, I do. Specifically, I wanted to mention on-the-spot consensus and the confidence ratings, because on-the-spot consensus, this was my first time. I'm not really one that's willing to change. I'm fine doing things the way I've always done them for the last 10 years. And so my soul coach had to push me out of my comfort zone that way. And on the spot consensus, our evaluations took 1 hour, which I thought was unbelievable. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't have actually done it, I wouldn't have believed it. But each evaluation took 1 hour. So on the spot consensus, I will do for the rest of my contracting career. And the confidence ratings were so much easier. I had always done, even for Part 8, I treated it almost like a Part 15 procurement with the strengths and the weaknesses. And it was, the way I did things before was extremely complicated. And I can't imagine going back to doing contracting the way I did the first 10 years. Going forward, I'll do them the way that the Pill coach kind of steered me in that direction to do them.
I love your story, Tasha. I think the willingness you had to step outside of your comfort zones, to take on new challenges, to support our department, and to get this really important strategic sourcing vehicle in place for the department is really commendable. I love as well the fact that you learn things from it that you and iterate on and apply to future work, and the fact that you found value in the important step of supplier engagement, because really that is, I think, one of the key things that I'd love our audience to take away from today's conversation is the importance of talking to our suppliers is one area, and as I transition to Deanna to share her story, I think we're going to learn a little bit about the importance of talking and engaging with our customers as well. And so, Tasha, thank you. Stand by, because I'm positive question for you, but I'd like to turn to Deanna. Deanna, I have heard that you've been building a marketplace for the purchase card holders across TSA, leveraging our new reverse auction BPA, or strategic sourcing vehicle, I should say. Tell us a little bit about your initiative.
Sure. Well, just thank you so much. It's awesome to be on a panel with you women, amazing women. So I just thank you for that. But for those that aren't aware, the reverse auction is also known as the DHS Marketplace, which we call around TSA. It's a standardized tool that can be used to acquire items at lower prices. The tool also allows requesting bidders or merchants to bid lower prices to win the procurement. From a TSA standpoint, our cardholders have the ability to compete various product orders via modified template workflows that we have created for TSA. And we created these templates in an effort to compete pricing amongst the strategic sourcing vehicles such as First Source 2, FSSI, OS4 office supplies, and then other GSA schedules. The templates were also created for the cardholders to use as a one-stop shop, since they were designed specifically for TSA's purchasing process. We have our guidance and the policies embedded in our terms and conditions on the template. So we are making sure that the cardholders are, keeping to policy as well when they're making these purchases. The use of the reverse auction tool also allows TSA to access, or the cardholders to access, to go online to put their requirements out there so the merchants can bid on them. They also have reporting capabilities within the platform. So when they're making purchases, they can see their stats on their dashboard. And we also receive tremendous support services from a dedicated team within Unison, and they help to troubleshoot matters when they arise. TSA rolled this program out June 3rd, 2020, and I first started with a small group of my cardholders, which was the warranted contracting officers, since those were my smallest population of cardholders. And then I rolled it out to my ordering officials. And TSA is unique in that we have, we're the only component within DHS that has a certified ordering official program in use. And with that, it allows our cardholders to take required training, and then they can have their single purchase authority increase for supplies, increase from $10,000 to $25,000 when they're making purchases on authorized contracts or SSVs. So that's great. So once I rolled it out to them, then I rolled it out to the masses. So I rolled it out to all of my cardholders, and TSA has about, we're not the largest component, but we have about 650 cardholders. So once we did the warranted COs and the ordering officials, then I rolled it out to the masses. I really decided to leverage this program because I know my cardholders, like many other cardholders across the components, they wear dual hats. So they may be a purchase card holder, but it's not their primary job, right? They have other things to do. So I kind of wanted it just to make it a one-stop shop for them in their purchasing needs, to bring everything in-house, just to have them be able to go to one spot that will fit all. So that was extremely important to me.
I first of all, this is a fantastic program. What an opportunity, leveraging that reverse auction BPA to just power it up through a structured initiative to drive your folks to this one-stop shop, so to speak, and maximize it. And obviously making the process efficient for those folks so that they can get what they need and get back to work was a key goal. And it sounds like this iterative rollout must have been working, because you continued to phase it out to full implementation, which is tremendous. Did you find any maybe unexpected additional benefits beyond the streamlined ordering process as you rolled this out?
Yeah, absolutely. By using the tool, it allowed our cardholders to make sure that, like I said, that they're complying with the policy. So make sure that they're first checking the required sources of services before going to an open market vendor. So that was definitely a benefit. In some cases, cardholders have reported savings in costs, which is great. But one of the benefits that I love the most is that they provide you with a PDF package in the marketplace. So in the PDF package, it provides the full details of the award. So anything from the date, the order, the vendor, the cost, vendors' responses, all that is in the PDF file. And from a supporting documentation and auditing standpoint, I think it's great because all of those details are in there. Another benefit would have to be the support from the Unison team that we have, just having those dedicated POCs available to assist us and help when issues arise, whether it's something from a login issue to, hey, the vendor hasn't responded. Whatever the issue is, we have that dedicated team on hand. They've been very responsive. They're quick. So that in itself is an extreme benefit because, we don't have to sit around and wait for someone to call us back. Like, they're on it. And they also have chat features within the platform that if a cardholder gets stuck while they're making a purchase, they can just quickly chat and someone will respond back and walk them through that process.
Oh, that's a good point. It sounds like you really anticipated the amount of hand-holding, let's just put it that way, that a new program would likely warrant. Did you figure that out from the beginning and build with that in mind, or did you kind of learn that along the way?
No, absolutely. I went into it with that in mind, just knowing my cardholders, knowing the community. I knew what they were going to need. And with it being something new, it was bound to, the questions were bound to come, but they've been on it every step of the way. So.
You've said this a few times now, knowing my cardholders. First of all, I love the personal dedication you have to your user community. I think it just resonates in your story very, very poignantly. But I want to kind of unravel this just a little bit, Deanna, if you don't mind, because Tasha shared a little bit about the importance that she derived from actual engagement with those vendors for the credit reporting BPA to understand the marketplace before she rolled out her solicitation. In your case, though, you had internal customers, your P-card holder community across TSA. And it sounds like you understand them a lot. You've been supporting them for a while as their program manager for this program. Talk to us a little bit about your engagement with them, prior to, but also throughout the development of this initiative for the reverse auction BPA.
Sure. Well, we made them aware of the platform and that it was coming, but we also made them aware that we was going to equip them with training and the dedicated guides that they need. So we roll out training for them all the time, for whether they're a new cardholder or they're existing cardholder. Of course, when we did it in phases, it was new for everyone, but we also make sure that we engage them by having training on a quarterly basis. And we recently launched like a 2.0 training just last week that they have access to from June 15th through July 9th, just with the enhancements that's been going on. So we made sure we made them aware of that, and that we would be there to help them every step of the way. They would have the tools that they needed, whether, like I said, some people need that handheld and we have to talk to somebody. Somebody wants to see step-by-step, on a guide. So we make guides available that we keep it on the iShare site. They get it once they complete the training. And then we also give it to our new cardholders as well when they're first coming on board.
Oh, right on, because you have new folks getting cards. Keeping that training available and fresh for them is important too. Well, I know firsthand that rolling out new initiatives and programs is not always easy, and that we have challenges, yes, that we foresee. As you said, you knew what you had ahead of you, but did you have any challenges that you maybe weren't as immediately prepared for? And if so, how did you overcome those? How did you meet them head on?
Yeah. With everything, Polly, there's going to be bumps in the road when there's changes involved. So we kind of knew that with learning a new process, a new system, that there was going to be some kinks. Some people can catch on like that, but then, sometimes people need repetitive reminders or assistance, which is fine. Just as long as they're using it or trying it out, that's all I care about, right? Just know that tool is available. Yeah, we've had challenges, but I wouldn't think it would be anything different than they went on any other site, whether it was GSA or an open market vendor. We've had some cardholders say that the site is user-friendly. Then I've had others say that it's not. Now, I've been in the system, so I have my own, opinion of the system, but it just depends on the user, right? We've had some people who've been challenged in the area where the vendor minimum requirements are too high for what they're looking for. That's probably one of the biggest things that we've had. And then we've had some where vendors may not have responded or taken on the bid, but wasn't really able to complete the order. And we've worked with Unison on those issues, so they've contacted vendors, made the vendors aware what was required of them. And we've also done reminders, because in our training, we tell our cardholders that they should be using this more if they have like a minimum order of $800 or more. So I've also worked with Unison to have that come up as like a pop-up type on the platform, just to remind them, hey, if you're looking to get the most out of this experience, then you want to place an order of $800 or more to get more people to bid on or compete against your requirements. So we've mitigated some of these challenges, though, by, like I said, the repetitive training that we offer on a quarterly basis, and just reminding them through the guides and information that we give to them and post to our iShare site as well. But to me, it's not an experience going to another site, because I've had the same challenges where people have gone to GSA vendors and said the same thing. So.
Yeah. No, I think the reality is nothing's going to be perfect, but what is important is that when people do have challenges, there is a venue for them addressing it, and that venue is responsive and adaptive and user-focused. And to me, what you've shared, the story that you've shared, is that when people do have problems, you provide them the support they need to resolve it, to get that, again, supply that they need in hand for the mission effectively. And to me, that's what's building trust in the marketplace, right? That's what's going to continue to keep your users there and engaged. So I a lot of credit to you for that. We do have a question. What are the software and tools you are using for category management? So can you talk a little bit about the platform that you rolled this program out, which is our reverse auction BPA solution, which is the Unison Marketplace?
Right. So they just basically go to the site with their login, and they have access to the platform. And like I said earlier, our templates and stuff are specifically driven for them to use for office supplies, and then the first source. So before they go to the open market vendor, they have to check those required sources before they can release it to an open market. So it's more geared to, like I said, the GSA schedules, the FSSI OS4, and also the first source too. That's more what we're gearing them to. And so before they can go to the other open market, they have to have the PDF file showing that they did attempt to go to the required sources.
That's perfect. And I'm calling out a thank you to Wendy, who posted the link there for you, Amir, so that you can go directly and learn more about our DHS Reverse Auction BPA, which is the platform that Deanna built out this capability for the one-stop shop for the P-card users across TSA. So Deanna, thank you. I think a key takeaway here is that you effectively have developed a new initiative that adds immediate value to your workforce, leveraging our category management tools, our reverse auction BPA, our strategic sourcing vehicle. And your method of deploying that initiative has really been honestly holding hands with your users across DHS so that trust is built and it becomes a trusted and a valuable tool in their toolbox. So thank you for sharing that story. Stand by. I have some more questions for you, but I want to turn to Sam. Sam, our strategic sourcing vehicles at DHS are intended to avoid duplication of effort, to more efficiently access our suppliers, and to align with category management principles. We've heard two very amazing user stories of how category management in action can work. But I'd like for you, as in your role as one of our category managers, can you share some of the efficiencies that our Strategic Solutions Office considers as you develop these SSVs in partnership with our acquisition teams across DHS?
Thank you, Polly, for your question. Strategic sourcing is a proven industry and government best practice that saves money, reduces redundancy, drives standardization, streamlines procurement, and improves business efficiency. Each new strategic sourcing initiative is carefully planned and executed by an acquisition team led by an executive agent with the capability and expertise to act on behalf of the DHS, as you've heard Tasha and Deanna speak about today. We really couldn't do it without our EAs. Deanna and Tasha, awesome. The Strategic Solutions Office works with the EAs throughout the entire procurement lifecycle to help streamline the acquisition and the ordering processes, as well as help with many post-award activities. Aside from saving money and also being unable to leverage the expertise of many people across the department, an SSV also creates many efficiencies. For example, a majority of our IT SSVs, especially ELAs, enable the department to quickly and efficiently acquire licenses. Also, the procurement timeline and administration burden are significantly reduced by the following documents. In most cases, they're not needed at the order level because they're done at that master contract level. For example, brand name justifications or acquisition plans, which can be very lengthy and time-consuming. The Information Technology Acquisition Review, better known as the ITAR, Appendix G that covers your security checklist. Again, these documents are done at the master contract level, and therefore they're not needed to be done at the order level, which saves a ton of time. Overall, SSVs are simply created to assure efficiencies and help the contracting community save time by reducing their pulse. And they also save money, which frees up other resources for more complicated acquisitions.
That's really, I think, talking about the value that the efficiencies add to our operational contracting teams across DHS is really important there. You bring up some really good immediate efficiencies from a process perspective, right? The parent contracts, these SSVs, have already dealt with the ACT plans, the ITARs, the Appendix Gs. I think that's really important for folks to be reminded about as they look at a procurement and consider the strategic sourcing vehicles, which, yes, are mandatory for use, but they're also there and they've been created with our missions in mind and very targeted in our different mission spaces. Talk to us a little bit about this concept of innovation and category management, and as you look forward, how are you evolving your service offerings in the Strategic Solutions Office?
Polly, that's a great question. Our office is constantly evolving and learning. We have such a unique opportunity to work with so many competitors cores, contracting officers, program managers, industry, you name it. And with such a broad reach, we are able to improve and incorporate these lessons learned to help streamline the procurement and ordering process. From lessons learned from First Source 2, while collaborating across the DHS community, our office gathered a ton of feedback through many forms of communication, such as industry days and procurement connection gauge. And we recognize that the ordering processes have been challenging. Therefore, a huge piece of my job has been how do we fix it? How do we make the process more innovative, more creative, and easy to use? I can't give away everything today as we're still in the development stages, but I am working on an interactive ordering guide for 3. As a previous 1102, I used to hate reading, 20 plus pages of an ordering guide, but our office is working all the time to streamline that process and more fun, user-friendly. Some of the cool things that we're working on in this new interactive ordering guide for First Source 3 is to have everything in one place with click of an icon. So all the documents that are needed, that were created at that master contract level that I spoke about earlier, will be one click away. Cool. So for example, the acquisition plan, which is already done, it'll be on this tool. Click it. The contracting officer or the program manager can pull it up, look through it, save it, put it in a file, and it's in one place. They don't have to go looking for it. The ITAR number, it'll already be there. They can just click it, and it'll be right there. Another cool option is we will have DHS reverse auction marketplace that Deanna discussed tied to the ordering guide. So it's a simple one-click boom. You want to use that resource, it will take you right to the website from the ordering guide. Also, we're hoping to have all of the vendor contact information, POC, so it's at one click and everything's listed there. In addition, I know that there is a mixer at the end of Category Management Day. So if we're asking for very candid feedback on the order guide, so stop over and I would love to hear some of your ideas.
That's amazing. So Sam, I want to go through a few things you brought up, but first of all, just so that we have good experiences for our audience, can you just check that the speaker on your Adobe platform there, right above, next to where it says Category Management Day, make sure that that's off, that it's not green.
Yep.
We were getting, okay, perfect, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So first of all, this is very exciting. I love what you're working towards as far as this almost partially automated but very interactive, sounds like web-based experience for the ordering guide for First Source 3. So that is definitely different, and I think that that's going to be extremely well received by our acquisition community. I can't wait to see how that all pans. I know that everything remains a work in progress, but I love the direction you're heading. I think that's pretty cool, and it sounds like it's very reflective of what users are looking for, and you probably relate pretty well to that experience based on your background as an operational contracting officer, which drives me to a question that we have that I think is a really great question. And is probably relatable for roles beyond category manager. So I want to just share this question with you and ask for you to consider it. Amir asks, communication skills are essential for the category manager position. What sort of experience do you have that has developed your communication abilities for you in your new role?
I mean, I think it's just being an active listener, being engaged with industry. We talk with program offices daily. I'm always in the weeds with my COs. I think that communication is active in both ways. So really getting in on the program side and the side and listening to industry and telling your management or your role within it is very important.
I think that's listening and engagement are two things you just said that I think are really key to being a good facilitator and support our operational teams and our mission. You mentioned something else that I want to touch on before we move on, which is You mentioned that there is a mixer this afternoon, and I want to make sure that our audience clearly heard you loud and clear amid our conversation there, that you are there, and you and the other category managers for strategic solutions are there this afternoon and ready to hear from our workforce on good ideas of what you guys can continue to do to add value to the strategic solutions office, the strategic sourcing vehicles, and our approach to category management at DHS. So folks, just a call out, don't forget to attend there and bring your ideas to bear. I want to move to you, Tasha. Something that really resonated for me as you shared your story with us is that you stepped up to the plate despite the uncertainties that you had, and you ended up providing tremendous value to our department. And it sounds like you learned a lot along the way. So what do you recommend to a contracting officer who might be interested in serving as, or maybe is voluntold to serve as, an executive agent on a future strategic sourcing vehicle?
Well, Polly, I would have two recommendations. This was my first strategic source vehicle, the credit report one, but I've done a second strategically sourced vehicle since then that I didn't try to get out of. But the one thing that was a benefit for me for both of my strategic source vehicles was the first thing I did was try to consolidate a list of contacts for all 9 DHS components. So that's not required, and it took a lot of time to try to find the contracting point of contact and the program point of contact for every component for all 9 DHS components. So I would recommend it. It's not required. But what it did for me was it allowed me to get buy-in from the DHS components, because my vision, my belief was that when I was the executive agent on a DHS strategically sourced vehicle, I was no longer purchasing just for ICE. I was purchasing for all of DHS, which meant I needed buy-in. So having that listserv, which I started early, gave me the ability to email the PWS, to email the CLIN structure, to email the items that I wanted buy-in on or feedback. And it also allowed me to get feedback from them for my IGCE or for my historical quantities or whatever I needed. So that would be my first recommendation. My second recommendation, which I didn't learn until my second strategically sourced vehicle, is that, and I'm piggybacking off of what Sam said, include whatever you can in the ordering guide. The ordering guide is created, a lot of people don't realize this, but it's created by the Strategic Solutions Office by people like Sam. And they send it to us as contracting officers to review. So when you review it in a way that you'd want to purchase off of it. Review it in a way and rewrite it in a way that makes it extremely easy for any component to make a purchase. And by that I mean include anything that can flow down, like Sam just mentioned. So I included the ITAR number. I included the AP number. I didn't have the interactive fancy stuff that Sam is rolling out, but including that stuff in the ordering guide and specifically mentioning in the ordering guide that these items flow down this component should save them time. So if the components are doing just as much work at the component level as you did at the BPA level, we didn't really achieve the goal we tried to achieve, like Polly was explaining, when we created the strategically sourced vehicle. So those are my two recommendations. Slow down as much stuff as possible in the ordering guide and try to create a POC listing if you can.
All right. Those are such important points. First of all, the idea of ordering guides being built from the very beginning with the end in mind, your lens of looking beyond contract award to actual use of the vehicle you put in place, and making sure that the ordering guide is going to help support our contracting teams in efficient ordering, and they're clear and usable. So I think, you just amplified what Sam shared, and that's really important. And I think that can be translated beyond strategic source vehicle and ordering guides to really any vehicle we put in place, any contract. Do we understand how we're going to use this contract to deliver mission after it's awarded? So such a poignant point there. And build your team was your first point. I think super critical. And then you leverage that team to make sure that your awards met their mark for use post-award and had the appropriate estimated value to that your competitors understood the scope of it appropriately. So great kind of advice, just great advice to the workforce there, Tasha. Diana, you on the other hand worked in existing sourcing vehicle into a full-on program to support this one-stop shop for ordering for your component P card holders. What do you recommend to the acquisition community at DHS who might not be using our DHS reverse auction marketplace BPA yet?
I would definitely recommend using it, trying it out, maybe not mandating it, but make it available to the end users as an additional resource for their purchasing needs. I would say at a minimum have units come in, demo the platform for the component, just see how it can fit their purchasing needs. And it can be adjusted and tweaked to meet, the purchasing needs of each unique situation or component. Like I said, they came in, I told them this was our policy, our guidance, and we were able to tweak and modify the templates for that. So it goes back to, like we discussed earlier, building that relationship, letting them know what we need, and, having them see what their platform can do to help us in those areas. I also believe that the purchasing community should have every tool or resource we can available to them, and just give it a try. We just can't get stuck in one way of purchasing. When we have many resources at our fingertips, it's just a matter of tapping into those resources and just seeing what's available, new things. I know some people don't like change, but when the resources are out there, I just say just give it a try, because it can help to make your job and your procurement process more efficient and effective. So, if you give it a try, what do you have to lose, right? And I just say, just communicate to the cardholders or the acquisition community. I'm always making my cardholders aware on a regular basis that it's a resource that's not mandatory, but it's a resource there that's available to them. And if they want to go that route, then they'll have the support of Unison and myself to help them each step of the way. So I think it's just worth giving it a try.
I think first of all, you bring up a really poignant point, and I'm going to just call on Sam here for a second. Sam, am I correct that, Deanna's mentioned this idea of having the vendor demo these products to us? Is that something that the Strategic Solutions Office can help folks access if they would like to follow in Deanna's footsteps and show, don't tell, what resources our acquisition community might be able to use?
Absolutely. Our office, myself, our category managers, we're here to help, and we want to help. The use of our, SSVs, like we've said, they are mandatory, but aside from that, they help promote innovation and efficiencies. SSVs help bridge capability gaps. They generate savings. They save time. And we also help post-award. We offer trainings. We offer scope reviews. So our work is never over once the vehicle is set up. I'm constantly in the thick of it with my EAs throughout the entire process. Tasha spoke about, the ordering guide and planning that before, the vehicle is there. And that's what our office does. And it's so much more than just the ordering guide. We are there throughout the whole process. We have the knowledge and the resources to help. And if, I can't help on a specific matter, then I can find someone who can. Our office is one collaborative resource, and we're all passionate about our jobs and categories, and we can help in any way. I know, Wendy Hoare, who's on this, that she's been engaging here, she is, works with Deanna on the reverse auction, and they can set up demonstrations and trainings. So, one phone call or email away. You can see in the slide here, sso@hq@dhs.gov. Please reach out to us. We are here every step of the way, and we have we're there throughout the whole procurement process from beginning till on and on throughout the changing. So please reach out to us.
Sam, you and Deanna both kind of bring up this mutually reinforcing point, which is that you've got a team that is there to support you as you engage and use these mandatory vehicles, these strategic solution vehicles, but you also have the ability to make sure that you as our the operational contracting community, I should say, is aware of the toolbox that is available to them, not just a single tool, but all of the options to choose from, right? So there's various ways that you could leverage and combine these tools. Like for instance, Sam, if we wanted to leverage the reverse auction marketplace to procure off of first source, either existing or once the new one is awarded, is that something that we can do to power up our vehicles?
Absolutely. I think, again, too, even Tasha said something earlier in our meeting, our panel about, she was very weary and nervous about being an executive agent because it seemed daunting and overwhelming, which we get that a lot. And I think that if we can get the word out to everyone, to let them know that we're here to help and that we do have this huge toolbox of resources to help and make things fun and make things more interactive and fast. And but yes, I mean, absolutely.
No, very good point, and I think that's something to just reinforce is you've got lots of tools here at your disposal that have been put in place by folks like Tasha. You've got the ability to work with our Strategic Solutions Office and our vendor community to put these products and these offerings in front of our programs so that they can understand and engage with them and identify which tool in our portfolio of tools, our toolbox of tools, is going to be the most effective tool to get our mission what it needs, and to do so with these efficiencies that you guys have all shared that you have helped create for our workforce. So I think that's really incredible. I'm just going to go down because we're getting to time, and I'm trying to be responsive to our audience questions. I'm just going to pause and take a moment to look through any questions that we might not have answered. I think one of the questions that came up is, for the reverse auction marketplace, are all of the products and services available on that reverse auction marketplace, Deanna, that you've put in place, or just a portion of the?
Well, our templates are specifically created for all the FSS, the first source vendors. So all the vendors are listed under first source, and then all the vendors are listed under the OS4. So those are the vendors that our cardholders are purchasing from, and that the templates were designed to purchase from.
So again, the mandatory free use vehicles are fed into that, and then their P card limits are increased, and as long as they're procuring off of those through the reverse auction marketplace, they're golden. And you had mentioned earlier, go ahead.
And the increase is only for, of course, the warranted COs and then the ordering officials, but all the general cardholders, the templates are still at the $10,000 level for them.
Copy that. That's a great clarification. And another clarification to this question is that, if I recall, it's products only, not services.
Correct. Correct.
I'm sure folks understand that. That's an important, yes. I think that's an important differentiator there. And then the other question that came up, and I'm going to just leave this to any of you who want to answer this, because I don't think this is specific to any specific story that the three of you shared or experiences. But, if we put something in place, the question is, how would you plan an exit strategy for an unsuccessful product? And so I think we all have probably been in the place where we put something in place and it's not panning out. Right, a contract is not as effective post-award, or a vehicle might not be as well utilized post-award as we would have hoped. So I'm not sure if it's always an exit strategy, but are there strategies that you guys have leveraged to resolve those challenges?
I would like to answer that, because that was not something that I even realized I needed until my second strategically sourced vehicle. And it is important, for whoever answered the question, it's important to have an exit strategy. So what we ended up doing on the second SSV is we included onboarding and off-ramping language. So if you're doing a multiple award BPA, presumably, you're doing a multiple award BPA, I would recommend doing on-ramping and off-ramping language, because that allows you that if the vendor is unsuccessful or isn't meeting the whatever the cost requirements are for your requirement, to get rid of them. Because other than that, we did realize we're incurring a risk of maintaining a vendor that was unsatisfactory for the next 5 years. So I hope that answers the question.
I think it's a perfect answer to the question. I think that the flexibility that on-ramping and off-ramping language provides us, especially on these longer-term strategic sourcing vehicles, not only to help mitigate risk of unsuccessful engagements, right, vendors who may not be performing or may not be even bidding, let alone performing, right, but it also allows us, the on-ramping allows us the opportunity to ensure that we keep these contracts fresh, useful, and pertinent to our mission needs as new products or vendors come into our marketplace and can help us support our mission. So I think it's just a really good point. Sam, was there anything you looked like maybe you wanted to add something? I just want to give you an opportunity if you did.
I was actually going to suggest exactly what Tasha said about on-ramping and off-ramping language. It's very important. But also, too, you did say something about utilization of an SSV. And, you know, our office really works to do the data analysis behind the scene and to find out, you know, what components are and aren't using specific SSVs that could potentially fulfill those needs. And in those cases, we work really hard to reach out to those specific components and do training. So for example, for Source 3, once we get that up and going, a huge part of my job will be to get out to these different components and train. And I know my coworkers go out, you know, all the time. Robert, he does the Eagle Next Gen trainings, and just, it's really about awareness. And so that's, you know, also something too, if you're in a program shop or a contracting shop and you know that this vehicle exists but people aren't using it, reach out to us. We would love to come out and train your folks and get in and, you know, really promote the vehicle and all of the benefits.
Sam, what a perfect way to end the panel discussion, because the concept of engagement and being there and reaching out and communicating has just been a continued theme throughout this. Tasha with the vendors, Diana with her customers, her P-card users, and Sam, you on behalf of our category managers with our DHS acquisition community at large. And I think that well resonates with an overarching theme for Category Management Day, which is engagement. And I have truly enjoyed engaging with each of you on our discussion today. So thank you, Mavericks. And to our audience, I hope you enjoyed the conversation and these stories as much as I did and found value and the ability to apply what these contracting professionals have done to your own work as you support the delivery of mission to our front lines across the department. Thank you all for being with us.